Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Of course, I came in real hot right after Charlie told me not to scream because his volume is super high for some reason. Joining me, that is, of course, Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck? Can you hear me? Now you're muted on my end. That's great. Okay. Well, while Charlie gets this figured out, maybe is this a me problem? I'm not positive. All right. Well, while Charlie gets this figured out, let me tell you what we have going on today. It's draft time. It is time to get into the Flyers draft. Who are they going to be taking at 6? Who could potentially be available? And all of that great stuff. And we're going to be talking James Hagens today. Because Charlie, of course, mocked James Hagens to the Flyers at number 6 in his first mock draft. Can I hear you now, Chuck? I guess you have to talk for me to figure that out.
I don't know.
Oh, there you are. Hell yeah.
There we go. Okay.
All right. That is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
Having sound issues, but we're working through it. You're a little loud. I'm the opposite of loud apparently on your side, but now we're good.
We are absolutely just getting through it. And that's why you all need to hit that like button for us. Give us some likes. We need it. It makes us feel good about ourselves and it validates us as human beings. We need it. So, Charlie, I want to do basically for the next few weeks, one prospect a day to dive a little deeper into. You know, we went through some of your mock drafts yesterday. Guys who might be available at 6, who could go right before. And I want to start with Hagens because that's where you started mocking James Hagens, the Boston College phenom, to the Flyers at number 6. And just reading a little bit today, checked out Corey Pronman's mock draft over on The Athletic. He had the same 1 to 4 to you, same 1 to 4 as you, Schaefer, Misa, Martone, Desnoyers, but flipped Hagens and Frondell. So Frondell goes to the Flyers and Hagens goes 5. So I think we're kind of on it with the group we are in right now. It's pretty safe to say. You said yesterday you wanted to do your first one kind of as an exercise just to show people the sky hasn't fallen. They could get even, the guy a year ago presumed to be the #1 pick in Hagens at 6 here, despite, falling down in the lottery and our dejection over that. How likely do you think it is Hagens is actually there at 6, though? Like, obviously, when I see the mocks, he's right in this area, but do you think it's like a likely outcome?
No, I would put it like sub 50% to be sure. I just don't think it's I don't think it's single digits. I could see worlds where he's available because the way I'm looking at this draft is that I do believe, and maybe again, as I said yesterday, maybe I'm wrong. I think that Schaefer, Misa, and Martone are going to go in some order in the top 3. Maybe I'm overestimating the love that Martone will get from hockey men because of his size, but like I don't think I am. I think they are going to ensure that a guy that is that big and that skilled and plays the wing position after everyone's been watching Matthew Tkachuk do Matthew Tkachuk things for months. I just cannot imagine him falling past 3. If he falls past 3, I certainly can't imagine him getting to 6. So I don't think he's going to be an option for the Flyers, but I don't think he gets out of the top 3. So if those are your top 3, then you get to 4. And look, I'm not saying Utah wouldn't take Hagens, but I do have skepticism that they would take a guy who, because in the outline, you ask, who is his playing style comp? Logan Cooley is one of his James Hagens playing style comps. I am skeptical that Utah, because Logan Cooley is establishing himself as a darn good forward at the NHL level, whether he's going to be a true superstar 1C or just a quality top 6 center or whatever, we'll find out. But like him and Hagens have similarities in the way they play. And I would be skeptical that Utah will go and take Hagens after already having Cooley. I think they'll go for somebody a little bit different stylistically, unless they just are convinced Hagens is going to be a superstar, and then you just take the superstar and figure it out later. If he doesn't go to 4, then suddenly it's just 5. And well, I think Nashville is going to take a center. There's no guarantee they are going to love James Hagens. Like, they could. They need a center, but there are other centers available, and there's certainly a possibility. Like, is it above 50% that they're not going to that they're not going to take Hagens because Barry Trotz wants a guy with a little bit more sandpaper, maybe a little bit more size? No, I think there's a good chance that they take Hagens, but I certainly don't think it's anywhere close to 100%.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Like when you just look at the actual teams in the order, like you're talking about Martone going 3. It's like, well, that would be a great guy to put next to Connor Bedard. Like, perfect world, you want a top pair defenseman, you want a franchise center, like with this very premium pick. But hell, if you already have those things, why not go with this dude who looks like he could be a unicorn? And then Utah, like you said, they might just have that sort of like they already have that sort of characteristic kind of checked off. And then Nashville, I would guess that's what they would do, is go with a guy with more size. Like that just seems kind of who they are. That's their DNA. And it would potentially leave James Hagens there for us at 6. So I think it does seem really possible. Like the first round playing out, at least the first few picks the way you did, and then the way you laid them out in your mock draft. And then suddenly it's going to be this mix of guys here. And that seems pretty universal, that it's going to be Frondell, Hagens, one of these dudes in that group. But why did James Hagens, as we've been saying, a year ago, presumed number 1 pick, why did he fall, Charlie? Like we've talked, is it more other guys just had big years? He kind of disappointed. What is it that has, turned the number 1 pick into a possibility at 6 for the Flyers?
No, I think it is entirely that he disappointed. Now, when I say disappointed, I want to make it clear that disappointed doesn't equal that he was bad. He had a good year as a freshman for a major college program. Like he was point per game. He had a good year. It's just that the expectation for a presumptive number 1 overall pick is that he's going to blow the doors off. And that was very much the expectation going into the season. He was the guy who you thought was going to be the number 1 pick. He was the guy who got all the talk, and he's just point per game. And I say that just point per game. That's really good for an 18-year-old in his first year of college. Like college is a higher level of competition than juniors. So being point per game in college, pretty big deal. But then you look at like Macklin Celebrini the year before. He came in with similar hype, maybe a little bit more hype going into his draft year as Hagens did. And then Celebrini did blow the doors off, and he blew the doors off at the same, Celebrini was at BU. Same city, same league, same conference, I guess is the way you put it. But Celebrini did blow the doors off. He made it clear, like, this is my spot. I'm getting taken number 1. Whereas Hagens, they stuck him in the middle where, because Will Smith jumped and Boston College still had Ryan Leonard and Perreault. And they just basically slid Hagens right into the spot that Will Smith vacated. And Hagens did not fit as well. Like that line, which came straight basically from the USNTDP, that line killed it in college. Yeah. And I think the expectation was like, oh, Hagens is just going to slide right in there and kill it the same way Smith did. And he didn't. Like he was getting bumped down to like second line. They put him with Teddy Stiga, his former line mate with the USNTDP. So he got some time, off that line. But I just think there was a feeling that like Hagens was going to have the Celebrini-esque year. And when it was just okay, then people started really diving into like, okay, why is it just okay? And then you start picking out the flaws in his game. And then people start convincing themselves that he's not actually that good. That's, I think, what happened.
Yeah, so he 37 games as a freshman, 11 goals, 37 points. It's not like point per game is bad, like Charlie just laid out. There's grown-ass men playing in college. He's an 18-year-old kid, a little bit undersized, I guess, 5'11", 176. But I'm just looking at what he did. We're saying, a year ago, we thought he was going to be the first pick. And I think it goes back to the U18s last year. He had 22 points in 7 games. That's the record. We talk about guys who just really impressed at U18s this year, like Brady Martin and that helium Charlie is talking about. They're rising up boards coming off of those performances. Well, that was Hagens in his draft, like his pre-draft year, like his draft, what would that be? Draft -1 year, like he was a kid out there before he even played a college game, 22 points at the U18s. And here he is now coming off a minorly disappointing season. The one thing I wanted to ask Charlie, I think of Logan Cooley, I guess, as more of a shooter. Like if we're going to do that pro comp, I like it. It seems to me, just watching a little bit of tape and scouting reports, I would categorize Hagens more as a playmaker. Shoot, definitely can shoot. But the puck handling and the skating, the way he manipulates the defense, it seems like that's more his game. Puck on the stick, making decisions. That's his playing style. Right.
He's absolutely more of a playmaker. I feel like a lot of the goals I've seen him score are a little bit more like closer to the net, via dangles rather than beating goalies clean. I certainly wouldn't consider his shot to be one of his primary assets. Like I think he can get it to the point where it's good and he scores goals, but I do think that he at his core, he's more of a playmaker. And this is where maybe I might differ from some Flyers fans in terms of what they want. It maybe just comes down to like what your view of kind of who the best fit for Matvei Michkov is going to be. And I think you can reasonably disagree. Like I still think of Matvei Michkov at his core to be a goal scorer. And I would like to get him a line mate long-term who can allow him to score 40 plus goals a year, who feeds him the puck. I do think there are a lot of people, and I get this because I think there's a case to be made that maybe that is who Michkov is going to be at the NHL level. There's a lot of people who like look at an Anton Frondel and they say what's more exciting to them is Michkov feeding Frondel because Frondel is more of a shooter. He's more of a pure scorer. And what's more exciting to them is Frondel getting to the high danger areas and Michkov with his elite vision finding Frondel for all those goals, in the low slot, in the net front area, whatever. I think you can reasonably think that either one of those guys could be the better fit. For me personally, I'd rather have the playmaking, puck transporting guy in Hagens because, I think Hagens could have done a better job this year of asserting himself in the neutral zone. I think he has the dangles and the skating ability to be an entry driver. And I think Michkov could use an entry driver because I don't know if he's ever going to have the elite speed to be the guy who's carrying the puck up ice and really, pushing the pace of play in the middle of the ice. I think Hagens could be that. So I look at Hagens as an ideal fit to play with Michkov. The only thing that makes him a less than ideal fit, and this is fair, I wish he was like 2 or 3 inches bigger. Like I'd like to have a bigger center with the smallish Michkov. But beyond that, I really like personally for me, I like the fit of putting a playmaking puck carrier like Hagens with a guy who plays the style and has the strength that Michkov does.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I think with Michkov, he's going to be able to get the most out of whoever, like whatever the other person's skill sets are. I think he's going to be able to feed off of that and feed into that, except for Owen Tippett for some reason. Those two it didn't seem to work. Did for like
their moments. They had their moments.
It did for like a week. There was like a week. It was like, man, they figured it out. But other than that, I think he's going to be able to, like, whether it's, on the left side and TK's on the other side, and they're both kind of rush players. And then you have Sean Couturier in the middle. Like, does this even work? And, oh, it does. Yeah, that's cool. Like, I think he's going to be able to make it work. But ultimately, yeah, I think I do still see him as primarily a goal scorer. Like his setups are just, he sees it, like we've said all along, he just sees it so well. His assists just come from like, I know how to put the puck in the net even for that other person, so I'm going to put them in position to do it. Like that's just the way he sees the game. So I do think the playmaker might be the more ideal fit, but I don't think, like, if they end up with Frondel, it's like, oh, well.
No, I agree.
Like, no, I still think it's going to work.
Yeah, I agree.
Fine.
I think it'll work. Yeah. I think Michkov is adaptable and he'll play with anybody. I just am more excited with the possibilities of putting him with a playmaker than I am putting him with a goal-scoring center. I think Michkov is smart enough that either way he's going to be real good. I don't know. I'd rather Michkov be taking runs at 50 goals.
And like, selfishly, it would just be nice to have one of the, like, how it's been since the freaking 90s, Charlie. Like, we haven't had a 50 goal scorer since the 90s. Carter had a couple. He had the 46 goal year, maybe one other in the 40s.
Yeah.
But like, that's been it. A couple of big Gagne years. It's, oh man, we got someone to 37. That's been our huge number for, like, I just would love to have a guy that, our best player, he's putting the puck in the net himself. We don't have to count on someone else to do it. After Claude Giroux just undresses a whole defense and then hopes the guy he passes it to perfectly doesn't whiff because it's a undrafted fourth liner. But anyway, I would selfishly love to see him get that setup guy to boost those numbers even more. Because you saw, especially at the end of the season, when Michkov was just like, screw it. He's putting that puck in the net himself. He wants to rack up goals. That is what he's out there to do. So let's get him someone who can feed him. And I think that could definitely be Hagens.
Yeah, there are just a lot of things that I like about Hagens. Hagens is one of my preferred picks, to be sure. It's really, if you're talking about the concern I have, it's really just the size. And I do worry a little bit that, like, when he shows up to the combine, like right now, I believe he's listed at 5'11".
Yeah.
I worry a little bit that when he shows up to the combine, he's going to come in at like 5'9.5" or something. Dude, and you're going to be like, oh boy. Okay. Now I'm even more concerned.
That was one thing, like the last day or two, watching a couple scouting reports on Hagens, and I see him like on Elite Prospects, 5'11", 176. And I'm watching him out there. Unless everyone else on the ice is 6'4", I don't think he's 5'11". Like, that's just what I was looking. Like, I did think I noticed that a little too. I'm never so much concerned about height, especially with forwards, as I am weight and strength. You need to be able to hold your own in the dirty areas, and you have to be able to shed off of contact. If you can do that, I don't care if you're 5'4". Defense, I do think there is a big advantage to being taller. You're over there, I can poke check you from 6 feet away because that's how long my arms are. Like, I think that's like a possibility, but I'm not worried about that. He just does look slight. Like, I asked you yesterday, do you think he can come out? I don't know. I don't see that right away just because he has to physically mature a little bit. He can't get any taller probably. He's 18 years old, but he can hit the weights.
Yeah, and I don't worry so much about, like, I guess the way I'll put it is, the Flyers obviously already have Jetlichenko. He's going to be a part of this long term, whether that's as a 2C, a 1C, a 3C. We'll find out. We'll see how he develops. But he's going to be part of this. They really like him. He's going to be one of their 3 top 9 centers, I would say, for the next, once he gets here, he'll be here for a while. I really do believe that. He's 5'11", 6 foot. I think he's sturdy. He's built. So he isn't slight the way Hagens is at this point. Yeah. But he's not tall. I don't necessarily worry so much about, like, oh God, you can't have 2 small centers. Like, in an ideal world, you don't, but I don't think it's going to kill you. What worries me a little bit more is, like, okay, if Hagens hits and he's your 1C, and then 2/3 of your top line is Hagens and Michkov, I do worry that that's a little small. I worry a bit about that. More so than, like, oh, what are you going to do if Luchenko and Hagens are your 1-2? Like, I wouldn't be that concerned if you also had a Makachuk, but you don't. So, like, suddenly 3 of your potential 6, well, 4 if you count Travis Konechny, are small. Of your potential long-term top 6 players are under 6 foot. like, yeah, that worries me a little bit. It doesn't worry me enough that I wouldn't take Hagens, because I do think in the end, like, you can't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Hagens checks so many other boxes for me that I'm willing to accept the fact that, like, yeah, it'd be great if he was 6'2", 6'3", but he's not, and he's really good at everything else. So screw it, take the guy. But in an ideal world, like, yeah, it is a negative that he's smallish, to be sure.
And like you said, especially in terms of fit with the other pieces the Flyers have, we've talked some about how small their forwards are, and especially like their core group. So that would just put you then in the market for, all right, we need some power forwards. Like, that's just what happens at that point is, all right, we do need to go out and find some of those dudes at that point. And listen, there's worse ways to spend your other assets. It's not as if it's not as if this is all going to be, okay, after 3 drafts, we have our whole team. This is it. Like, there's going to be trades. There's going to be signings. There's going to be guys that leave, guys that come in. So I'm like, it doesn't worry me just because like that part is completely fixable. Like even if Hagens, you draft him and like you have to trade him for a bigger guy. You could, because he has that star level potential. You always have that ability. Like, I'm not drafting Hagens to trade him. I'm just saying that exists, that possibility. Okay, we're too small. Well, guess what? He's really good, so another team's going to want him. We can fill our needs in that way if necessary.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason why, like, my dream draft probably, if you like ask me, like, what's your dream draft for the Flyers? My dream draft for the Flyers is Hagens slips to 6, they get Hagens, Roger McQueen slips to the teens, and you trade up and you get him. Because then suddenly it's like, okay, now you've almost got a like a backup plan in case of both issues. Like,
yeah.
Okay, well, if Hagens turns out that he's not really a center and you have to kick him over to wing, well, you got McQueen. And it's like, well, if McQueen turns out that he's a bust because his back never gets better, well, you got Hagens.
At least you did get Hagens, yeah.
Exactly. So, like, that would be my dream. Now, granted, that's pipe dream like crazy. I'm not expecting it to happen. I'm expecting someone to take McQueen because his upside is dramatic and, somebody's going to take the plunge in that, 8 to 15 range, and they're not going to be able to trade up. But, like, I'm allowed to dream about what my ideal situation would be. And my ideal situation would be you get a small, super skilled, really good skating center. And then you get the big center who's also skilled and plausibly has top 6 center upside.
No, and that's I mean, I can't imagine you're the only one who's thought of this, Chuck. Like, I bet you that's a lot of people's ideal draft. Like, there is an idea in place, I bet, for several general managers. Like, okay, well, where are we comfortable with McQueen?
Exactly.
Like, if we do get our, like, quote unquote sure thing, not that anyone's a sure thing, but like if we do get our guy without question marks of, is he going to be able to play in the league because his body doesn't work, like, okay, then how can we manipulate this to now take our big risk and get a shot on a guy with, huge upside, but question marks? I bet you that's a thought in a lot of people's heads right now. I do want to get back to real quick, and then we have to take a break. The the disappointing freshman year. And then what he did at World Juniors, 5 goals and 9 points in, I think, 7 games, like, up against other people more his age, other opponents more his age. It looks like he stood out again and was one of those guys. Do you think that's just the thing, like, level of competition, the size out there in college, like, that's maybe what led to a little bit less productivity? And at World Juniors, where it's, U20, like, he was able to stand out more so than he was in the NCAA?
Yeah, maybe he was good at World Juniors, but again, I don't think he lived up to expectations.
Okay.
I think the expectation was that he was going to be incredible at World Juniors, which again, maybe was overly ambitious. He was young for the tournament still. But I just think a lot of it is when you're the number 1 overall pick, you're supposed to blow the doors off. And he was good at World Juniors. He was, as you said, good numbers, over point per game, but he didn't dominate. And again, that gets people thinking, especially when they watched Schaefer go out there and he gets hurt early in the tournament, but when he played, he was like the guy who popped, and he popped in a way that Hagens didn't. I think that solidified the idea in a lot of people's heads that like, oh, Schaefer's probably jumped Hagens. Now, Misa didn't get to go to the tournament. That was probably a snub. That was unfair because he probably deserved to. So he didn't get the chance to pop, but regardless, while Hagens was good in that tournament, just like he was good in his freshman year, he wasn't as good as I think people hoped he was going to be. So I'm not going to say that like it was a bad tournament, just like I'm not going to say it was a bad freshman year. It's just that my sense, both watching the little bit that I did, but also reading the post-tournament articles, was like, yeah, Hagens was okay, but like, man, we were hoping for more. And I just feel like that's the story of his season.
Okay. All right. We're going to come back to James Hagens in just a minute. But first, we got to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Got to lead it off with our friends at Lucy Nicotine, 100% pure nicotine and always tobacco-free. Lucy comes in breakers and pouches. I've actually been liking the breakers a little more than I thought over the last couple of days. Breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. Told you a few weeks ago, maybe, like, one thing I've noticed about Lucy is I feel like it's got a really good long-lasting flavor, longer than maybe some other pouches and similar products on the market. And the Breakers, well, with the little pouch, the little the extra surprise that you can break open, the flavor lasts even longer, and you get even just a little bit more kick, a little bit more bang for your buck. Whatever your flavor, whether you like the Breakers or just the straight pouches, you got to set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/PHLY and use promo code PHLY to get 20% off your first order. Lucy is a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co/PHLY and use code PHLY to get 20% off. And here comes that fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. And since we're here, I got to tell you about something awesome coming up right here at PHLY. PHLY will be hosting a special NFL schedule release bonus show presented by our friends at Philly Sports Trips on Wednesday, May 14th, with coverage kicking off at 7:30 Eastern to discuss the 2025-26 NFL season schedule. So tune in right here on the PHLY YouTube or wherever you watch PHLY. Make sure you're tuned in here, PHLY, as we react to the matchups coming down the pipe for our reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Again, that's the NFL schedule extra show. It'll be held on Wednesday, May 14th, beginning 7:30. Tune in right here on the PHLY YouTube. All right, Chuck, I just want to talk a little bit about the other parts of Hagens' game. Just some stuff I noticed. I watched like 3 scouting reports, so I'm sure you have dove deeper than I have.
Yeah, but you've done some tape study, which is great. So we can
I
talk
actually
about kind of what your view of him is.
I am prepared today, Charlie. I actually did this. I didn't just leave it up to you like I do every other year. Hey, they're picking at 6. I might as well actually know about these guys. Listen, I loved like the stick handling, especially the playmaking, the vision, and not just like being able to do nasty dangles. Because like I've played with guys in men's league who could do the craziest stuff with the puck, but had no idea how to play because they just like that's the only thing they taught themselves. But it's his ability to do it in motion at speed and like take defenders with him to draw open a teammate for a pass, set them up on a rush, something like that. Really just manipulate the defense, move the goalie, all that really, really impressive. Some of the lapses did scare me, and it comes to his size. Like, I don't want to just say defensive lapses because, like, oh, what, he doesn't block enough shots. Like, honestly, I don't care. Score a bunch of goals, and I'm fine with it. But, like, rushing into corners, didn't see, like, not every time did I think he was giving his full effort. If, oh, yeah, I'm going to be the first one there, but by half a second and I'm going to get killed. Yeah, he wasn't then the first one there. And it's like, I don't know, man. I just watched you win every race and every highlight leading up to this. So maybe you could have done that. And maybe that just comes with confidence, getting a little bigger, getting a little stronger. But that was really like the main concern I saw. Is there anything like that you see in his game that might be, other than, yeah, he just wasn't awesome, that might be like dropping him down in this draft to Philly at 6?
I do agree with you. I agree that I don't think he lacks compete, but I do think that he doesn't really play physical at all. I mean, occasionally he'll get it, but he needs to. I don't think he plays soft. I don't think that's fair, but the physical element to his game really isn't there. I'd like to see that a little bit more. I do think some of that might just come from the fact that he does need to get stronger, and maybe as you bulk up a little bit, I don't want him, getting to the point where it takes away from his agility and his elusiveness. That's an inherent part of his game. That's why
that's who he is. Yeah.
But I do want him to bulk up a bit to the point where maybe he doesn't have that quarter second of trepidation before he goes into a corner battle where he's like, I don't really feel like getting knocked on my butt. If he gets a little stronger, maybe he'll feel good about going into that corner battle. Like maybe he's not going to win it, but he's at least going to tie the guy up. So I do agree with you there. I see that. I think the shot could be better. I think he needs to work on that to the point where it's like it's passably NHL average. I don't think it needs to be plus, given the playmaking ability and the elusiveness, the skating that he has. So the shot, and I agree, defensively, not the greatest. I think the big thing I like about him is I think in the offensive zone, I think this is why he excites me so much as a potential partner for Michkov, is he thinks the game with the puck at such a high level. And we know how high of a level Michkov thinks the game with the puck, even without the puck in the offensive zone. He is an offensive zone technician. He's a magician. He just sees everything, 2 seconds before everyone else does, and he gets himself in a spot, or he finds an open man that you didn't even think was open. Hagens does that too. Now, I do think Hagens isn't as good at it in the neutral zone as you would like for a guy who has the skating ability. Like, he doesn't always take the right routes in the neutral zone with the puck. He may not be like an elite entry creator, but I think he could be a good one with his stick handling and with his skating. But in the offensive zone, he sees plays. You watch him on tape and he'll see plays that you didn't even like. When you watch enough tape, you're like, oh, he should find that guy. And he does. And it's like, oh, great pass, high difficulty pass. Hagens will set up guys who you didn't even realize were open. And I love that because Michkov does the same thing.
Yes.
I'd love for Michkov for his long-term center to be someone who thinks the game offensively in the attacking zone. Maybe not at his level, but at least darn close. And Hagens in this draft, for me, him and Misa both. They both are that type of guy. And that's why they're the two guys that I think excite me the most as potential 1Cs for Michkov in this draft.
No, that's I think that's the thing that does ultimately, like, yeah, I guess I probably like Frondell a little better, but Hagens would absolutely be an exciting pick for me because you can pick apart different aspects of his game, but the idea of he and Michkov thinking together in the offensive zone, the puck skills and the mental skills, man, they would be really freaking hard to defend. That's especially if you were to then get them a skilled power forward, like, to be their other guy. Dear Lord, like, that would be a ton of fun to watch. I would be absolutely on board with James Hagens at 6 when you just see the potential. Like, yeah, he has a little bit of that. Remember early in the season, we were like, none of Michkov's line mates even understand that like he's going to get them the puck. Like, these two would be those guys who saw it and we didn't. And like, we're watching the whole thing, like, from the press box or on TV, like, how did you see it? I'm up here and I didn't. Like, I see that ability. And ultimately, I think that's bigger than any nitpicky, oh, he's not quite big enough, I'm not sure if he's gonna be. No, I do really, really like the talent that you see on the screen with him.
Yeah, and I also love the skating. And again, like, this is another thing for me, I think, which is why I put him a bit above Frondell on my list, is because I would ideally like Michkov center to be a really good skater. And I don't think I view Frondell as a really good skater. Hagens, he's maybe not. I don't think he has the straight line speed that Jet Luchenko has. Jet Luchenko is a better straight line skater. He is faster. If you did a race, Luchenko would probably win. Hagens' strength is in his edges. It's in his agility. It's in his change of direction. And he's a good straight line skater. Don't get me wrong. He's not slow. But his strength skating wise is just how fluid he is. And to me, like, that is exciting in terms of what he can do in the neutral zone, pushing the play, and what he can do on the rush, what he can do on the attack. I'd like Michkov to have a guy who can complement him by being faster than him.
Yeah, and I do think, like, you talked about the entries, maybe, okay, he was good, not great, like the decision-making in the neutral zone. I think I did see one report, it was like, it got better as the season went on. Like,
and I'll watch more tape to be sure, so maybe
like,
will.
And it took some time. Like, there was one, like, okay, this is from beginning of the season, and, like, he tries to, he's not quite sure, hesitates, tries to take on 2 defenders and just turns it over, and then, like, kind of undresses the situation differently later in the season, and it leads to an entry, and it's all right. Like, it was a thing, and obviously he's going to have to learn at every level what he can and can't get away with. But like, I do that the elusiveness, the agility, I think will complement him well. Like, okay, he doesn't play physically. That's his game, is to avoid those situations so that he can control the puck. Like, that's basically what he is. Maybe there's other guys I'm going to like better, but I did come away from today like, all right, there's something. This would be an outstanding pick. If they get James Hagens at 6, I am going to have abso-freaking-lutely no complaints. Anything else you want to talk about with Hagens before we get into some other stuff?
I mean, look, I still haven't finished my draft research. I'm at the point now where I know a lot about all the guys. I haven't fully decided yet, like, who my guy is, but it would surprise me based on this, like, especially now that I know they have essentially zero chance of getting Michael Misa, who, like, probably if, like, I have a guy in this draft, it's probably Misa, but, like, hey, they probably ain't getting him unless some crazy thing happens or they find some way to trade up to 2, which, like, I guess you can't rule it out entirely. Seems unlikely. It would surprise me at this point if Hagens isn't my guy. It's possible. Maybe I do a lot more work and I, decide that actually, no, like, the guy that Frondell was in the second half of his Allsvenskan season, like, that's the perfect guy for Michkov. But right now, I feel like Hagens is kind of my ideal pick for 6, even if I acknowledge that there's a less than 50% chance that he will be available at 6.
Sure, and we're going to talk about some guys that may not be there, and we're going to talk about guys that might be reaches, but they're all possibilities. And the draft is like June 27th. What the hell do you want us to do for the next month and a half, I did have one more thing, and now I have, as I almost knock over my camera, now I have forgotten about it. That's what it was, the Islanders connection. Okay. Now, there has been, because the Islanders moved from, 10-1, and Hagens was at one point considered to be the top prospect in this draft. He grew up in Long Island. Islanders fan, all of that. You said Misa is your guy, and maybe they go Schaefer. Do you think the difference between either of the presumed top 2 dudes, Schaefer and Misa and Hagens, is like so big that if the Islanders do that, it's like, what the hell did you just do? Or it's small enough that, no, we think he's just as good. And like, yeah, maybe him being from here does push it over the top a little bit, but we think they're of equal talent, basically. Like, is the gap wide in your mind?
It's a good question. And I would say that I think it would be a relatively easy sell from the Islanders' perspective to their fans and to the hockey, like, fandom world. I think the scouting community would kind of be like, what are you doing? Okay. I think it would probably be more scorned by scouts than it would be scorned by fans, because I think fans still have the idea in their heads that, like, Hagens is awesome. He was the presumptive number 1 overall pick. It makes sense that they were taking him number 1. He's a local kid. That's logical. I just think that the scouting community has moved more in the direction of Hagens had a disappointing year more than fans have. Okay. So I think it would be an easy sell to fans. I don't think they would have a problem pitching the idea of, like, local kid, presumptive number 1 overall pick, Hagens, we got him. Get excited, Isles fans. But I do think that, I guess you won't even have it this year. There will be some scouts in LA, but not too many at the actual draft. But, when the scouts go out for beers wherever they are, they're going to be like, man, I don't know what they were thinking passing up Matthew Schaefer and Michael Misa for Hagens.
All right, before we get to the next part of today's show, got to take one more quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, it is on. You have to shop the Memorial Day sale at Ashley. That's right, Ashley Furniture. If you can save $100 off every $1,000 you spend at Ashley, plus get amazing savings on outdoor furniture. And that's not all. You can get 60 months special financing and have your furniture delivered locally for free. Plus, with your qualifying purchase, you get a free gift, and you can save on top brand mattresses. There we go, and get free local delivery, setup, and removal. What's better than that? They bring it to you, they put it together, and they take away your old stuff. It doesn't get better than that, and that's what Ashley provides. Our friends at Ashley Furniture save on everything at Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia. Visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. Financing with approved credit, minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for details. And while we are here, oh, this is great for me, Art of Words, because I'm doing so well with words today. No, our friend at Art of Words. Listen, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this local Philly artist proves it. Each piece is made entirely from handwritten words, like every eagle forming the link and every Philly shaping Citizens Bank Park. And it's not just sports. He's captured Boathouse Row, Reading Terminal, Philly skyline, Jersey Shore, and so much more. So many of his pieces are just completely unforgettable. They're great gifts for sports fans, grads, housewarmings. Listen, Father's Day is around the corner. Any location. He started selling art at the K-Lot and Rice's Flea Market, and credits Philly fans for launching his career. Available for dozens of teams and cities as well. There's something for everyone. It's not just Philly stuff, so you can get other teams, other sports, other cities as well. But come on, get some Philly stuff. And these pieces are a total conversation starter. You'll spot a name, then another. Soon everyone's reliving their favorite memories. You know, Charlie and I, and Kelly, we all joke all the time, like, oh yeah, we're just naming guys today. That's literally the game you can play with these pieces of art. They're awesome. They've been featured on ESPN and TED Talks. Check it out for yourself at artofwords.com. That's artofwords.com, and use code PHLY at checkout for 15% off your purchase. We have a few of these pieces on our sets at PHLY. We're working from home today, but the gritty one we have in our regular studio that we record from daily, that's actually mine. I brought it in when we first started. Like I have some of these pieces in my house. Really, really love this work. So check out artofwords.com. All right, Charlie, let's talk some coaches.
Yeah.
Let's talk some coaches. Read a Pierre LeBrun piece this morning, kind of an update on all the different openings around the league. First off, David Carl appears to have signed a new contract at Denver. He's taken some interviews. I believe he interviewed for the Ducks job along Jay Woodcroft was there. Coach Q, actually Quenneville, has taken 2 interviews in Anaheim, so that might be a thing that happens soon, but kind of seems like Carl's off the market for now.
It does, yeah. They announced that. Was it this week or was it last week? It all kind of blends together. But recently,
it was like a day or two ago, and it feels like last week.
It wasn't that long ago. Okay. Denver officially announced it. The one thing that a lot of people online jumped on was that in the announcement, Carl has the quote of "Denver is my home," and of course, people are like, "Oh, so you're just waiting for the Avs job to open up?" That's clearly what's going on here. But in all seriousness, no. It sounds like Carl. He explored the world. He explored the NHL coaching world, and then went back to Denver and was like, "Hey guys, you want me? How about you give me a big old raise?" And they gave him one. So
I don't want to leave, but they're offering me like $4.5 million, $5 million. So
maybe give me a little bit more money.
I'm gonna need a little bit of that, NIL money coming my way. How about that?
Exactly.
So it looks like, and I kind of thought that was always. And listen, he might take a job next week. He might just go screw it. He might take a job next year. Might go somewhere else in a few years. Who knows? I always kind of thought this was the likely outcome for David Carl, just based on what he wants. Like, he wants a little bit of institutional control and stability and life-changing money. Well, this is the NHL. None of the last 5 Jack Adams winners are with the team that they won the Jack Adams with.
Yeah.
That's not the NHL.
It's fair. And I do think that at some point, David Carl will go to the NHL. I think there's too much interest, and at some point he's going to get the itch, and there's going to be that perfect opportunity that he decides he just can't pass up. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like he waits until, he can be the Dan Bilesmith for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I wouldn't be surprised if that's when he makes the jump, where he can take over a team with a bunch of early 20s stars that's ready to take the leap into being a true cup contender and then just run with it. Wouldn't be surprised if that's what he waits for, but I do think at some point he will make the jump. This year clearly just wasn't the right time. One thing that I do want to talk about, though, because you mentioned about Anaheim having interviewed Quenneville and interviewed Woodcroft. It's very fascinating to me, and this isn't even just this particular thing, although it certainly plays into it. It's fascinating to me how like Anaheim in so many ways are almost like are like the reverse mirror image of the Flyers in terms of the way they do everything.
They stole our colors.
Well, that's a very good point. I didn't even think of that. But what I was more going by is this. Like,
real point.
You have the people who are the most critical of the Flyers' proposed and planned rebuilding strategy are the ones who believe the Flyers should have torn it down and just tanked for a while, gotten a ton of high picks, loaded up on, young talent, and then built from there. That's pretty much what Anaheim did. They are basically doing we're going to be real bad for a while, and then we are going to their big veteran is Radko Gudas, but beyond that, they really don't have they haven't placed the emphasis upon culture in the way that the Flyers have. So they're doing it like the tear it down and tank with a ton of blue chip young players way. And the Flyers are obviously doing it a different way. And now with the coaching search, the Flyers are doing we're not telling anyone anything and we don't care. And then you have the Ducks who every day it seems like they're leaking we talked to this guy, we talked to this guy, we talked to this guy. They are desperately trying to make sure everyone in the hockey world knows just how much work they are doing on this coaching search and just how many people they're interviewing. And again, I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong, but it's just very interesting to me how I look at the way the Flyers do things, and it always seems like Anaheim is doing the opposite of that. And then, of course, they're linked together because of the Gauthier trade.
Yeah.
So, you've got two. It's almost like you got one side's heads, one side's tails, and it's just trying to figure out which side is going to end up right side up in the end. It's very interesting to me when you compare those two franchises.
It is, and it's funny. They did do one thing similar. Have a hard ass coach that all the players hated.
That's true.
And then got rid of him finally this season.
Yeah.
Now I was just looking up. I always it is funny also the names that they've brought in, David Carl and Joel Quenneville. Those are the two biggest names on the market. Regardless of situation, those are the biggest names on the market.
Yeah.
And then, and also Jay Woodcroft, a coach from their division. It's interesting, the things that they are leaking out when you mention that. I just looked it up just on David Carl again real quick. He's still 35. I just wanted to see his age. He doesn't turn 36 till November. He hasn't
gotten any older.
I just wanted to see if he'd actually turned 36 yet. He has all the time in the world to make this decision. I think he is kind of a young family, so he doesn't want to put them through that now, but circumstances can change in 5-10 years, whatever it might be. Also, I always forget the Carls are from Alaska. That's so wild to me.
Matt Carl's an Alaskan.
Matt Carl is from freaking Alaska. I'm Jesus, that's insane. It's not even a real place in my mind. Shout out to all of our Alaskan listeners now who have turned it off.
Bill, you strike me as someone who would enjoy Alaska.
I bet I would. I think
you would like that. It just it has that frontier type vibe. I don't know. I could see you in a big coat carrying firewood and then just smoking some weed out by the fire in the snow. I could totally see you nailing that.
I'm telling you, I feel as much as I prefer the city, I feel I could have lived in Mystery, Alaska. I could adapt my life to this.
Yeah.
I could figure this out. Absolutely. All right. And now for the Flyers end of this coaching search. This is straight from the LeBrun article. The Philadelphia Flyers have taken their time, but things should heat up next week from what I'm hearing. They have already spoken to some candidates, and interim coach Brad Shaw has a legitimate chance to get the gig full-time as well. And then as of Tuesday, my understanding is that the Flyers have not reached out on Rick Tocchet, but I expect that will happen before the end of this week. And the Canucks have said they can speak, that Tocchet can speak directly with teams. So that's not a problem, even though his contract doesn't expire till June 30th. And the TV thing is real. There is a chance Tocchet could just be like, I ain't going. I'm going to TNT or whatever. So, Charlie, let's start with, we just talked about Anaheim, and they're telling everyone that they're talking to everyone. Flyers are taking their time, but it'll heat up next week. Why?
So here's what I've heard is that
okay.
I think they're downplaying this. I think they've done a lot more work than they're letting on. That's been my read of the situation, that when they talk to the insiders like LeBron, they're still like, we're not doing that much. My understanding is they're doing a lot more than they're letting on publicly. Now, that doesn't mean that they are rushing into this and they're going to hire somebody soon. I've also heard that this is going to be a process, that like this might not be an immediate thing. Don't expect us to hire a coach in the next week. But I don't think this is a case of like they're just sitting on their hands like, we'll just wait. No rush. I think they are, if anything, I think they are leaking things like, well, we're not that far into it yet, because they always plan for this to be a longer process.
Yeah.
And they don't want to start like making it seem like a coaching decision is imminent when it likely won't be. That's kind of my read on what's going on. It is interesting though, because like my read on Rick Tocchet is he likes to chat with people in the media. And if they haven't heard from Rick Tocchet that he hasn't interviewed yet, I'm assuming he really hasn't interviewed yet.
I wonder if it's just as simple as like, yeah, man, we're gonna work together, so like we're not doing a whole thing. But I bet you they are actually doing a whole thing. I can't imagine they're just sitting on their hands in this situation and like, yeah, we're gonna get to Tocchet eventually and then just hire him. Like, I really don't think that that's what's going on.
One thing too, like, and this is something that a point that I want to make. And look, it's very possible Rick Tocchet ends up being the guy. It's still very possible. I think that is still the industry consensus that ultimately Flyers are going to circle around and hire Tocchet. The fact, like, if it really was that much of a certainty, wouldn't they have just done what the Rangers did with Sullivan and like hired him 2 days after he became available? Like the fact that
even technically available, like,
yeah,
like, it
like,
doesn't matter. We hired him.
but seriously, like
Yeah.
the way it's been presented publicly is like Tocchett's the Flyers guy. He's their guy. Well, like if that was true, why didn't they just hire him immediately? The longer this goes, the more you think like, yeah, they probably do have interest in Tocchet. They like him. They know him. But this isn't the like coronation, the foregone conclusion that I think some people have presented it to be. Because if it was, why wouldn't you just hire him? He's out there. You can talk to him. You could hire him today if you wanted to.
You could. Charlie, we both know when this is going to happen. You told me your vacation schedule this week. You told me last night. It's going to be that week. Yeah, I know probably exactly when this is going to happen. Like Monday the 19th. Write it down. Like that's when the Flyers are hiring their coach. They are going to inconvenience you in some way, Charlie. 100%. The ghost of John Tortorella remains, despite his departure from the organization. But
indeed,
that's my guess. Just simply based on Charlie and I exchanging summer schedules last night. That's when the hire is going to be made. Real quick, I want to do this Marco Rossi thing just because everyone's always interested in Marco Rossi.
Bill Guerin really doesn't like this.
Bill Guerin just doesn't like this.
Wild.
Like, wild. I don't know, other than like John Tortorella, I don't know if I've ever seen like a person's obvious opinion made so apparent. Like a hockey executive's obvious opinion made so apparent. This is a quote from Bill Guerin on if he foresees keeping or moving pending restricted free agent center Marco Rossi. I don't know. What? Like, I'm not going to get into contract negotiations and this and that. Like, you know the quote. You've heard it a million times.
Yep.
And like this question, you ask it, and it's like, I know what he's going to say, but we have to ask, And then he just goes, I don't know.
See, this is why you always ask the question.
That's why you ask. That's why
you never know if you're going to get a like, whoa answer.
And like, this is not an earth-shattering thing. Like, oh my God. But like, that's not what you say in that situation pretty much all the time. What do you think? Like, I have another, from this Hockey Ice Storm Twitter account. So it just says, if the Flyers were interested in Marco Rossi, would likely take an NHL forward, maybe one of Cates or Forster, plus draft picks and prospects.
I think
Let's
that's
just say
reasonable.
that's the right, like that's the
Yeah.
asking price.
Yeah,
Sure, why not?
it fits. It fits because number one, you got Garrett who loves size.
Yeah.
He's size queen. We know that. Like he wants big players. Tyson Forster obviously fits the bill. He may not be a like bruising hitter, but he plays physically.
Yes.
He is a grinder. He will go to the dirty areas. He will win battles along the boards. I could easily see them loving Tyson Forster. Noah Cates, defensively sound, but also big Minnesota guy. They love that.
Let's say that's the asking price. Worth it?
It's not an unfair ask. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
It's one of those where it's like it wouldn't be an easy trade to make. I mean, if you could I really like Noah Cates, and I think he can be a key part of a contending team. But like if the ask is like Cates and a pick, then you do it because I think Cates he tops out as being a good middle sixer. If you have to trade Forrester for Rossi, it'd be a tough trade because I think Forrester has further untapped upside. He's a really good player, both by the underlying numbers and by, the basic stats in terms of what they pretend he could be in the future. He could be a 30-goal scorer who drives play to a ridiculous degree. That said, if you're going to get a top 6 center in his prime, you're going to have to give up something you probably don't want to give up. So it wouldn't be the kind of trade where you're like, man, the Flyers robbed them. But I don't think it would be unfair, I guess, to put it that way, if they decide they like Marco Rossi.
Let's say this happens right around, right before that contract expires and Rossi becomes an RFA. That's when the move would happen. So it would be after the draft, let's say.
Okay.
Let's circle back to the beginning of the show. James Hagens falls to 6. Our centers, we have good depth now, but it's a little small. If Hagens is the pick at 6, does that decrease your interest in Marco Rossi?
Honestly, probably, but that's not even necessarily because it would decrease my interest in Marco Rossi. If they get Hagens at 6, it decreases my interest in trading a lot of pieces for a center, period. Okay. Because suddenly I'm like, well, now they have Luchenko and Hagens. If you could go out and get a sure thing, certainly not going to stop you from chasing down Connor McDavid if he becomes available. But sure. If you suddenly have Hagens and Luchenko and Couturier signed forever, that dramatically decreases my interest in giving up a Tyson Forrester. And you're going to need some size in the wing, especially if then you've got Hagens and Luchenko as 2 of your 3 centers long term. For a guy in Rossi, you're like, I like Rossi a lot. I don't know if he's the 1C on a cup team.
All right. Now it's time for the Super Chats. Let's see what we have today. It looks like we have a decent number again. All right. Let's get to this first one from J11. Bill, reminder to please read my DM. Thank you.
Check your DMs, William.
I will get to it. I will absolutely get to it. I actually think I know what this is about. It might actually be something pretty cool. So, yes, I will absolutely get to that. All right, from Tyler Heath. We just got $4.99 and no message. That's my kind of super chat, Tyler. I'm sure there's an actual message somewhere. From Chuckles Biscotti, good one, love it. Rossi demoted to 4th line in playoffs, willing to give up hefty offer sheet compensation. Guerin probably wants a big center or D. So trade seems less likely. I don't know about big offer sheet compensation, the sort of scare them off, give up, top picks compensation. I think a trade is more likely in this scenario.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Rossi, the size thing keeps coming up and he just keeps looking productive to me. I don't know, but I would have to know what this team's center depth is first. If it's Hagens, I don't think I want both. And like Charlie said, now you're just all right, cool. We have all these, we have to start shipping out wingers, and we also have a bunch of centers now that we have to figure something out with. So we'll see, but I kind of think the Rossi train I think we're past that point with him now. That was a year ago, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think we're necessarily past it because Minnesota has reopened the door with these Guerin comments and the fact that, as Chuckles Biscotti says, he was demoted in the playoffs.
Yeah, he got put on the 4th line.
Yeah, so I think the door is wide open again. Now it just comes down to whether Rossi's the kind of guy you want. Is he the piece that you want to make that big offer for? And look, the Flyers should check in, but it would obviously depend on what the ask is. I wouldn't, to answer Chuckles' question, I would not be willing to do the like, yeah, let's give up a first, a second, a third, or like multiple firsts and an offer sheet. Like, no, I don't think of him as that kind of player at this stage.
Oh, and I got to let you know, we're headed to overtime. Head to allphly.com to finish the show if you are one of our TV viewers. All right. Let's get to the rest of these super chats. Let's see. This next one here is from, there's the Tyler Heath one. Are tier 2 prospects / centers better than Jet? Would they be the second best prospect in our system? Or would they be our top center and Jet our second line center?
Yes.
I think we kind of got to this yesterday. Yeah, if you could put Jet in one of the tiers, you said it wouldn't be 1, obviously, and it wasn't 2 either.
No, the way this draft is shaping up for me in terms of like where I'm starting to put players, I would have Jet Luchenko. If you could just like subtract a year from Jet Luchenko's age and have him in this draft, I would have him in my tier 3 of this draft. And that would therefore imply that every one of my tier 2 I would consider to be a better prospect than Jet Luchenko. Now, the Flyers might disagree because they think Jet Luchenko is like the bee's knees. Yeah. But for me, I would probably still have Luchenko below the guys in the second tier. So below Martone, Hagens, Frondell, Desnoyers.
Okay. And that's
maybe even Jake O'Brien, honestly.
I'm glad you put him in tier 3 and told us that, Charlie, because I rewatched yesterday's show and someone in the comments after the fact was, Bill, how the hell didn't you ask if he's in tier 3? Like, how wasn't that the follow-up? And honestly, commenter, you're right. Bad job by me. But we got to it eventually. All right, from JH, Greer trolling with the will trade number 2 shtick.
Yeah. Mike Greer, the general manager of the San Jose Sharks, is like trying to make my life miserable by being like, yeah, we'll totally trade number 2. So all you fans can talk about it for the next month and a half. And then we're just going to sit there and take the pick in the end because that's what everyone that has a top 2 pick does. Look, is it possible they trade 2? Sure. Anything's possible. Everything's 50-50. It either happens or it doesn't. But historically, top 2 picks don't get traded. And the fact that there's very clearly a top tier that cuts off at 2 makes it seem to me even less likely that the second overall pick gets moved. But you're absolutely right, JH, that Greer did open the door and say, yeah, we're willing to listen.
I wonder if it's as simple as, like, yeah, if we had 1, we'd take Schaefer. But at 2, like, we already kind of have this 1 box checked. We're looking for something else. So maybe that's it. And if like, hey, yeah, the Islanders went Hagens. It's like, oh, well, then we're making the pick. But they're making the pick no matter what. Nobody trading number 2. It's not happening.
It seems unlikely.
It'll happen like tomorrow now. From Hudson Nickel, that lottery was the most excited I've felt all year besides Cutter's return. Hate losing, but rather have a shot at McKenna than be mid with no playoffs. Listen, they're not going to do it. Like, maybe they do run back the goalies, but I don't see that as a thing that they're going to do. And if they do run back the goalies, doesn't really matter about anything else they do unless they do like go get Connor McDavid or something silly, like something that ain't going to happen. I just think it's going to be, they're going to be a bubble playoff team next year. Maybe they're in, maybe they're out. But it's not going to be, I can't imagine we're going to be in the McKenna sweepstakes. Just don't see it happening.
Look, there are worlds. There are worlds where they're real bad again next year. The goaltending being bad, the coaching hire they make, maybe it's a total flop. Like, there are worlds where they stink and they're very much in the McKenna sweepstakes. And it's not like this is an only Gavin McKenna draft. There are some other really good players in, at least right now. We're a year ahead. Sometimes guys like there was that Russian guy who going into this time last summer, he was like, oh, he might challenge Hagens. Now he's like maybe not even going to be drafted in the top 2 rounds. So it's hard to project a year out, but my understanding is next draft is looking pretty good at the top, even beyond McKenna. It's possible the Flyers are involved in that. I just don't think the aim of the Flyers offseason is going to be, let's tank 1 more year. Now, they might accidentally tank 1 more year, but I think they're going into the summer with the plan of we're going to try to get better.
Yeah, that is my read on. I mean, it's basically what they've said. So we'll see how it plays out. All right, let's get to this next one here from Chase. Forster, Hagens, Michkov would be an interesting line. Tyson adds size, 2-way player, and can snipe. Hagens IQ, playmaking, and Michkov has that plus shot. listen, the organization we have heard, like, when Charlie would say, hey, the pipeline doesn't really have that top end sort of talent, they would go, well, don't forget about Tyson Forster. Like, we think he's actually, we got him in the 20s, but he was a top half of the draft kind of guy, and we got super lucky. That's their read on Tyson Forster. So I feel like there's another level to his game. He might be that guy. It might be him. What do you think, Chuck?
It's an intriguing idea. I would say that
I know you love line talk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they change lines all the time, but still, like, you're going to have those guys. Look, I don't think Tyson Forster right now is that level of player, but if he takes another step and he turns into, a yearly 30-goal guy with great underlying metrics, yeah, that could be a really, really good top line if everybody pans out the way you're hoping they will. The one thing that line would force Hagens to do, which actually might not be a bad thing, because there are some people who theorize, and they might be right, that one of the reasons why Hagens underwhelmed this season is because playing on a line with Leonard and Perreault, it kind of forced him into like a deferential mode where like they're puck dominant. Well, Leonard especially is like a puck dominant guy. Like, these are guys who want the puck, and Hagens, because he was the younger guy, was like, oh, I'll play off you guys rather than be the dominant guy. If it's a Forster, Hagens, Michkov line where you got Forster isn't fast at all, Michkov is more of the stretch the defense guy who's not going to be doing a lot of the puck carrying, a lot of the getting the puck from the D zone to the offensive zone work would have to be taken by Hagens. Yeah. I think he's got the skating ability and the puck skills, puck handling ability to do it, but he would have to show he can do it, and he has the mentality and the assertiveness to be willing to do it. It could actually be exciting because maybe you force Hagens to be that assertive, puck-dominant guy that maybe he wasn't enough of in his freshman year. It's an exciting possibility, but he also just might not be a good enough entry driver to be able to carry the entire load on a line if Michkov really isn't doing it because he's way out at the blue line and Forrester's, along the boards because he's not the quickest dude in the world. It's an intriguing idea. I don't hate it. There are ways I could see it not working, but there are ways I could see it working really, really well.
No, I like that idea. It's like it almost forces Hagens, like, you're getting the breakout pass and you're carrying the puck through the neutral zone. This is on you. You have to create the entry. Could be interesting. All right, let's see this next one here from Purple Crayon. What's up, Purple? To take Bill's approach of it either happens or it doesn't. Patrick did not work out, meaning McQueen absolutely will. Bring on the big rig. I think it was Purple Crayon who was all about McQueen yesterday too.
Purple Crayon is your number one Roger McQueen fan.
Okay. I'm so intrigued by this dude, and there's players I'm just scared of it. But if they do it and it works, like, that would be such a badass move. All right, what's this next one here from DA Flyers man? It was DA, right? Yes.
Yep.
I'm now picturing Bill piloting a dog sled.
Yes.
What was that movie? Iron Will. I love that movie growing up.
I've never seen that.
It was an Iditarod movie. The guy's name was Will, so I liked it. He was William.
Cool.
So that's it. Yeah, dog sledding's wild, man. Like, it's just you and a dog in the wilderness, a bunch of dogs in the wilderness. Good luck. All right. Do we have any more? Was that it? Was that the last one? It may have been.
Looks like that was the last one.
Okay, that was the last one, which means that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Hit that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. We'll be back tomorrow at noon, as we are every day, Monday through Friday. So tune into there. Yeah, hit that like button as well. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. Until tomorrow, let's go Phantoms.
We all silly like the mayor.